Hey guys, and welcome to This Is Now. Over the past week, the internet has absolutely been buzzing about an upcoming raid on Area 51 to see them aliens on September 20th. But they've ballooned to over 1.5 million people who said they're going, with another 1.2 million people who are interested. I just like that idea that I'm interested in storming a US military compound. See them aliens, no big deal. So while the event was started as a joke, there are definitely some who are taking it a little bit more serious than others. Hotels around the area have reportedly seen a spike in reservations because of the event. I mean, 1.2 million people is probably more than the single hotel which is next to Area 51 even supports. The popularity has grown to the point where the US Air Force was forced to issue a statement that, quote, "The US Air Force always stands ready to protect America and its assets," or to paraphrase, you will definitely be shot on sight. But don't worry, the Facebook group has a plan for that. Just Naruto run across the border. You'll be too fast for the bullets. Matt, why am I saying this is terrible advice?
This is literally the description of the event.
If you don't know what Area 51 is, basically it's an area of government-owned land located about 83 miles north of Las Vegas, Nevada. Now the total area of the base is around 25 square miles, and it's aptly named the Groom Box. That's because the area is made up of the Homey Airport and a giant salt flat called Groom Lake. There is some speculation on how it became known as Area 51, but allegedly it got its name from a CIA document during the Vietnam War. It's also been called the Dreamland and Paradise Ranch, which was later shortened to just the ranch. Wait, what? No one's ever called any of these names. It's Area 51, there's like aliens inside, they sell beef jerky on the outside, it's fine.
Alien beef jerky.
I've actually never tried that. I've seen it so many times driving on the way to Vegas. Like, hey, stop for alien beef jerky.
It is actually delicious.
The area is strictly off limits to both civilians and even unauthorized military personnel, and that includes the airspace. One of the only outside aircrafts that is permitted is the US Air Force's Janet Airlines, who transport the military personnel from Vegas to Area 51 every day. Now, fun fact, Janet is actually the airline's call sign, and there's some speculation on what that stands for. Some say just another non-existent terminal, but it's likely something boring like the Joint Air Network for Employee Transportation. Now, the entire perimeter is under surveillance from cameras as well as motion sensors buried underground, and of course, there are naturally armed guards who patrol it, because it's a secret military base. The official uses for it over the years have mostly been aviation-based. In the 1950s, the CIA used it as a testing facility for the Lockheed U-2 strategic recon plane. The reason they tested the plane out in the middle of nowhere was that, of course, it needed to be developed in total secrecy. Just don't tell the nerds. Other planes have also been tested there over the years, like the SR-71 Blackbird, as well as the Lockheed D-21. So why do people think that the government is keeping the aliens there? Of course, speculation started after the 1947 UFO crash in Roswell, New Mexico. The initial government report said that it was a crash weather balloon, as if you had possibly believed them. However, many people thought that they were actually covering up a crashed alien ship. However, in the 90s, the US declassified the Roswell crash as Project Mogul, a surveillance balloon designed to detect Soviet nuclear testing. Or so they want you to think. That, combined with the mystery of the base and several experimental aircraft, or UFOs, actually, it's technically true because it's an unidentified flying object, which does not mean alien, by the way, just saying. But this has really led people to theorize for decades that there are little green men running around inside, as if anyone could keep a secret like that. A physicist, Bob Lazar, recently went on the Joe Rogan podcast and talked about his time working on a UFO 30 years ago. However, even he thinks that the raid is a dumb idea. Real talk though, if you were considering storming Area 51, I mean, yeah, it's a great meme, but like, no one is going to be able to Naruto their way through a giant... No one is going to be able to Naruto their way through a giant metal fence, and with all the mines and the tanks and the dogs, I'm sure they're not going to be particularly happy to, I can't take this seriously. It's not. Now, if you've been on Twitter, Instagram, or the internet in general lately, you've probably seen the old filter which has been taking over. Well, this is known as FaceApp, and while it is a lot of fun and technically free, but the question is it really? FaceApp is developed by a Russian company, Wireless Lab, and they have one of the more unique user agreements. So to use the app, you first have to read through the terms of service and then agree, but let's face it, no one is actually reading through that. So by using FaceApps, you are, quote, granting FaceApp a perpetual, irrevocable, non-exclusive, royalty-free, worldwide, fully paid, transferable, sublicensable license to use, reproduce, modify, adapt, publish, translate, create derivative works from, distribute, publicly perform, and display your user content in any name, username, or likeness provided in connection with your user content in all media formats and channels now known or later developed without compensation to you. Oh boy, I love my old face filter now. So what does that actually mean? Well, the Firestorm Online has proven that there's a lot of people who are excited about it, but it means that they can pretty much do whatever they want with your photo as soon as you submit it to the app. Whether that means that you're using your face in a weird stock photo, or more likely, if they're using it to train the AI, which they almost certainly are, they have the complete right to use your likeness to do that. This all sounds so nefarious. However, they are definitely not the only tech company who uses your data like this. Both IBM and Flickr were caught providing user data such as photos to develop AI engines for things like facial recognition for police. Yikes. In fact, while people have posted FaceApp's terms and conditions all over Twitter, many have failed to realize that Twitter, as well as a lot of other apps that we use on a pretty much regular basis, actually have very similar policies. Now, I think this is very much one of those cases where the internet is super fired up about it, and well, yes, it's a little bit suspicious. In fact, it's mostly suspicious, but you're using a free app. I mean, what do you expect, right? They have to make money somehow, and if they're using it to develop some secret alien tracking facial recognition technology, then you should be happy that you're a part of it. High-end camera manufacturer Red has come under scrutiny recently over their Red Mini Mags. Now, Red cameras are a favorite of a lot of filmmakers, and we actually do use Red here at the office as well. Now, while the image quality is top-notch, one of the main complaints is just how expensive the ecosystem is. One of Red's most expensive accessories is their proprietary SSD media, the Mini Mag, which costs almost $2,400 for a 960GB drive. Not only is the housing custom, but the pin connection is not compatible with your standard SATA connector. So not only does this require the user to buy the drive, but you also of course have to buy the camera, as well as the proprietary reader. Now, Red CEO Jared Land claims that the drives were a custom intellectual property created through countless hours of R&D. However, the YouTube channel Ginny Tech uploaded a video tearing down one of their custom Mini Mags, revealing that the custom firmware was actually just a couple of off-the-shelf components. Now, really what's inside these SSDs is just a standard SATA drive connected to a simple pinout adapter, which probably only costs a few dollars to manufacture. The SSDs themselves are not special or custom in any way. They're standard Micron or Crucial SSDs, which will cost a couple $100, not $2,000. Now, one of the most damning pieces of evidence against Red is that they advertise their drives at 512 gigs. The actual SATA drive itself has far less capacity than that available. Now, while it is true that there's nothing special about the Red Mini Mags or the drives inside, there is a custom piece of software for communicating with the camera. Now, Ginny Tech tried using another OTS drive and the camera recognized it, but what they didn't mention in the video is that the non-Red drive actually doesn't record to full speed, so it's a little bit of misleading marketing. And you have to consider that Ginny Tech is not just a random YouTuber or filmmaker. They're a company based out of the UK who sells third-party and therefore unapproved Red Mags. So it's pretty plausible that this whole controversy was absolutely a way for them to drum up business for themselves. Even if it wasn't, that's definitely going to be a side effect for this whole mess. So while Red has issued a number of responses condemning Ginny Tech, the negative press was apparently enough for Red to finally reduce their Mini Mag prices by 20%. This entire story is weird, right? So I think Linus, in fact, has done the best video kind of summing it all up. But essentially, there's a lot of wrong on both sides. Ginny Tech has absolutely used this as a huge marketing tool. But on the other hand, Red has been absolutely overpricing these things forever. And the fact that they're finally being called out on it, I think is a good thing. Last but certainly not least today, we have a little bit of a sad story. I don't know if you want to take this one.
Yeah. This is a story we were debating not talking about, but something that hit hard was the tragedy that happened in Kyoto, Japan. On Thursday, an arsonist set fire to one building of beloved anime studio, Kyoto Animation, sadly injuring and killing many. Now, the story is still unfolding at the time of this recording, and really this new series on the channel is not really about detailing gruesome events such as this, but if you want to know more about it, I'll leave a link in the description below. But the outpouring of support and love being sent Kyoto Animation's way is the little ray of light to this situation. With famous works such as the Haruhi Suzumiya series, K-On!, and Violet Evergarden, as well as tons more, it's hardly surprising that fans all around the world have poured in their support. And for me, Kyoto Animation has played a pivotal role in my life, not only as a fan, but also professionally. So I actually started watching anime in high school right around the time I was applying for college, and I watched their work, Clannad, specifically Clannad Afterstory, the second season, right as I was applying for film school. I literally did it on a whim. And the one film school that I applied to actually accepted me. So if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be here working this job. I probably wouldn't have, met Matt, our buddy Wes, like our editor, Josh, like all those guys that I met at film school, I probably wouldn't have met. I wouldn't have done YouTube stuff. It played a huge role in my life. And I really attribute Kyoto Animation to a lot of that, believe it or not. Really, this whole part of this video is just to help me cope with this whole thing because I'm still trying to make sense of it all. But I think the best thing that we can all really do right now is just keep them in your thoughts and prayers. And yeah.